Oh no, that's normal. Okay. I was like, did I double screen that? Mickle's here this time.
Mm-hmm.
Right after he got home from work, I was like, hey, we got a stream. And he was like, but look, there's only 2 minutes left until the showcase. Oh, I should make sure the sound is...
Oh, do you want me to check? Sound check? Oh no, you've already got the earbud in.
I'm on it. Okay, I just gotta turn this down because it will likely echo. There. So yeah, if there's any double audio, we apologize. This co-streaming thing is new. But I got to practice yesterday, and it didn't go too bad. Luckily, at this time, I adjusted the settings a little bit, so hopefully it's not quite as stuttery as it was yesterday. But you know, you live, you learn, as our favorite Alanis Morissette says. Canadian hero. Heroine? I don't know. Who cares?
She's our favorite of all the Alanis Morissettes.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm excited about this because they're showing some footage, hopefully, from Stray Gods, which is a musical game about Greek gods. I'm very excited.
They're also showing a game from Ankle, who is one of my favorite interactive fiction game developers. So that's pretty cool if you're into that stuff.
I'm very excited. So we will see what is on the docket.
Oh, and that Telltale game is going to be there too. The Expanse, the new Telltale game.
Oh.
Telltale, that's an interesting story. They were like a super big company for a while. They put out like Walking Dead and stuff like that. That's what I was going to say,
Wolf Among Us. There was a Hellboy game yesterday on Devolver.
Oh, cool.
The art style reminded me a lot of them.
Okay. Well, they're back now, I think, under new management. So it'll be interesting to see what they're doing and how it looks.
Yeah.
Here we go.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Oh, we're going 4, 3. We're going fast. 2, 1. Let's go.
Happy New Year. Oh,
woo!
Wait. That's
Tribeca Festival.
That's not what this is. I think it might be our computer speakers that need to be turned up.
The vibrance and the culture of New York, and we pull it all together with films, games, immersive experience.
We share our narratives now differently.
There are so many more things that games can be.
Ever since I was a kid, I would play video games 24/7.
Every time I wanted to relax, every time I wanted to step out of the world for a bit.
You know, some people might say, well, go read a book. And I'm like, I don't want to read a book. I want to be in an interactive adventure. I want to feel like I'm part of the story.
There's echo.
I am Julian Cordero, and my game is Despeloso.
I'm sorry, I want to hear the event.
No.
Goodbye, Volcano High.
Stray Gods?
Yes!
A Highland Song.
Chants of Sinnoh.
Nightscape.
The Expanse.
Welcome.
Welcome. Welcome.
Welcome to Tribeca Games.
Oh, the
Highlands! The hell behind the house 100 times.
That's not an interactive fiction game.
I know every stone. But after that hill, there's another. And then another again. And after all that, then that's the sea. And I've never been there.
A Highland Song is a narrative adventure game set in the wilds of the Scottish Highlands. You play as Moira McKinnon, a teenager on her way to the sea for the first time. But to get there, you're going to have to find your way through the wild mountains and the valleys. You'll have to survive the weather, and you'll learn a bit about the stories and the history of the Highlands on the way.
Inkle is an independent game studio based in the UK, and we specialise in narrative games, so we make games in all sorts of genres, but our main focus is on games that tell really strong stories.
Looks good though.
Our most famous game is probably 80 Days, an adaptation of Jules Verne's classic novel.
The main hook of 80 Days is that you can go around the world any way you like. The way that Highland Song works is extremely similar to 80 Days. You start in one particular point and you can choose all sorts of different routes through the Highlands in order to reach your goal. But it also ends at a single point because you're trying to reach the lighthouse where your Uncle Hamish lives by the sea.
Finding the right gameplay for a game like a Highland Song can be really difficult. Gameplay is usually built around loops and patterns, but good narratives aren't made out of loops. We want to make sure that the character isn't doing anything.
Looks kind of like a more easygoing getting over it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's a new like by the same guys.
So the reason that we've essentially created our very first platform
you gotta watch mine
is that it just makes sense for the character within this scenario to be jumping and scrambling over rocks. And it even has a rhythm action mechanic. So in many ways, it's the most gamey game that we've ever created.
No, I was letting him see more. He wants to watch.
Moira's platforming abilities in a Highland Song are quite realistic. She has a limited amount of time that she can climb. She gets hurt if she falls too far. She can rest.
She's basically Link, honestly.
Yeah.
She gets affected by weather and affected by nighttime and affected by cold. A lot of our mechanics are built around the tension between knowing where you are and being lost. We have a map mechanic which is all about that. It's about finding little pockets of knowledge, learning the names of peaks and understanding the history of the peaks to help you find your way through this world.
At Inkle, we've always loved hand-drawn 2D illustration. We love how expressive it can be, especially for characters. Even when we made 3D games, we still had 2D characters because we loved the overall effect. I grew up in Scotland. When I was a teenager, I went up into the Scottish Highlands with 3 friends and we got lost and we had to stumble through rivers and bogs. It was really quite a chilling, scary experience. My parents are art historians and there was always one painting in particular that they had that I used to love as a child. It had a little ruined castle by a loch and these Scots pine trees and this golden brown colour palette that was just so characteristic of the region. And so going for a really painterly aesthetic was a way to capture that. The more modern take on that is the digital paintings of concept artists such as Paul Scott Canavan, who we worked with on this project. And he came up with this really beautiful way of hand painting rocks and trees and grass and then assembling them as a huge collage, but then all built up so that the overall effect is of a painting coming to life.
When people play a Highland Song, I really want them to come away with a strong sense of the place.
No, it's the one of
the Highlands themselves. There's this tension in that place between being full of story,
spam in my chat.
And history,
and
the marks left behind by people, whether that's ruined farmhouses or whether that's just the names attached to the various peaks and the stories behind those names, which often go back a very, very long way indeed.
When I first kind of conceived of the game, I tried to forget everything about what games we'd made as a studio before, what games are out there, and I just tried to imagine what do I want on my Switch for me to play right now, and pretty much a Highland Song as the way it looks and feels popped into my head, and I can't be prouder of what we've created.
Looks pretty cool.
Yeah. I feel like it'd be a good Switch game, for sure.
Oh, I've heard a lot about this one.
Oh, wow.
Co-op is a game studio that's based originally in Montreal, but is now remote and worldwide. It is a cooperative.
Basically, that means that we make all major decisions together. We decide whether we want to work 4 days or 5 days. Spoiler alert, we decided to do 4 days a long time ago.
We present concepts when we are starting to put together things. and we all vote on what we think is what everybody would like to work on.
And you feel more attached to what you're making because you voted for it, you chose it.
It was really important for us to feel like this was a different space where people actually could be the voices behind the games that we make.
We are the makers of some charming, fun games like Winding Worlds and Nog and the upcoming Goodbye Volcano High.
Goodbye Volcano High is a cinematic visual novel about dinosaurs in their final year of high school. At the start of the year, they find out that a meteor is coming. And the game is about asking yourself, what would you do if you had 1 year left? Who would you be?
What
Who
would
would you
you
want
do
to
if you
love?
were a
And how would you want to
dinosaur?
go out?
I vote yes.
I don't think this is a voting type situation.
I mean, it does kind of belong to all of us. Or it was supposed to.
It does. You did a great job.
So, what do you say, Faye?
We chose dinosaurs for Goodbye Volcano High for a couple of reasons.
Originally, when we presented the game to everybody else, it was meant to be a dating sim because, like, at the time, this was kind of like the hot
Dinosaurs dating, being in high school.
sims. And then we were like, hold up. Here's the hook. It's a dating sim with dinosaurs at the end of the world. As soon as you start talking about a meteor, even though the characters are unsure what's going to happen, you know what's going to happen.
And that was really important to us because we wanted to make something that could
kill
tap
them all at
into
the end?
the anxiety
Oh,
of
yeah,
our
they're
characters.
dinosaurs.
Fuck?
And dinosaurs was a really great way to create that metaphor instantly.
As it went on and we became kind of more ambitious and more interested in making what we actually like, we were like, what if it's an anime and we tell a story that isn't necessarily so focused on dating, but really goes deep into the emotional aspects of the end of the world.
So high school already feels like it's the end of the world to most people, so it wasn't really that hard to hone in on the teen angst. It's really the hope that's tricky to encapsulate.
High school to me is all about that sweet, sweet balance of doom and hope.
Hope for the better future, hope for the dreams we chase and the ambitions we strive for. Those are things that can feel impossible to cling to, especially with something that can't be stopped and feels inevitable, like a giant meteor hitting you.
And communities all across the continent reacted to the news of a previously unknown space object this morning.
So, how do you deal with that?
It starts off very joking. They're kind of making gallows humor jokes.
In light of the whole space rock potential demise of civilization thing, my chosen theme feels off.
What's the theme?
Using this year to, make an impact?
Our characters all have different methods of coping. Some double down on their ambitions, determined to accomplish their dreams before it's too late. Others slow down and decide to savor what time they have left, regardless of what their dreams are.
We can still win Battle of the Bands, asteroid or not.
The player character essentially ends up being the UI, and you end up playing as Fang's inner monologue.
I feel like I was very much.
I think this means she's rooting for us?
Music is really important in Goodbye Volcano High, and I would actually say music is really important to our studio and all of our games. It's core to our DNA.
You get to play
and music is central to the identity of the people who make the game, and so it is central to the identity of the game itself and the characters within it.
There's no performance in this game that is separate from the narrative. It is essentially the same as having a scene of dialogue, but you're playing music.
Oh, get it. Press X, press X.
We scaled our way out of this water well.
Oh, dang.
Fang is kind of gearing up for their future as a musician, and then realizing that they may not have a future anymore. So those two things are kind of clashing in their brain for the music they're creating and singing in the game.
Love the art style too. So cool. Oh,
I think every person hopes that they get to be near people they love and who understand them and that love them. Those are things people can grasp no matter how much time they have left.
I think that this game really encourages people to be brave, to do the brave thing, and love each other and be there for each other, even when it's scary, even when you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm sold.
Mm-hmm.
I'd play that.
It's a pretty neat premise.
Mm-hmm. No idea what I'm in for here. Huh.
Bonjour, je suis Julien.
Bonjour, je suis Thomas.
Nous sommes les cofondateurs de Rundisk et nous sommes ici pour vous parler de Chance of Scénar.
Avec Chant of Scénar, nous avons voulu proposer une aventure originale basée sur le mythe de Babel.
On a essayé de vous plonger dans la peau d'un voyageur qui débarquerait dans un pays complètement inconnu.
Tout au long de son ascension, le joueur va rencontrer 5 peuples différents. Chaque peuple a ses propres coutumes, sa propre histoire et évidemment sa propre langue.
Comme chacun de ces peuples parle des langues différentes, ça fait des siècles qu'ils ne se comprennent plus. Une partie du jeu et de l'aventure va consister à comprendre les raisons de cette division et peut-être essayer de rétablir l'harmonie dans la tour. Quand on a compris qu'on voulait travailler sur les langues, on a eu cette idée de s'inspirer de la tour de Babel, parce que c'est un mythe qui est très puissant, qui parle des hommes qui essayaient d'atteindre le ciel en construisant une gigantesque tour. Et ça a déplu aux dieux qui ont décidé de les frapper d'une malédiction, en leur faisant tous parler une langue différente. Ce qui est important et original dans le jeu, c'est que les langues sont des puzzles en soi. Pour nous, un mot c'est pareil qu'un levier, une porte, une clé.
I think I
On
really
comprend des
like
langues en
the
résolvant des
gameplay of
puzzles.
this one.
Yeah,
Et résoudre
it
des puzzles
sounds
nous permet de
really
comprendre des
cool.
langues.
I love that you like piece together the language and use
Chant
that
of Scénar
to
est avant
get
tout
through
un
the
jeu
world.
d'aventure. Au-delà de l'aspect puzzle, le joueur devra explorer l'environnement,
I've actually played a few
interagir avec
interactive,
différents
fiction
personnages
games that
et
have that
participer à des
premise.
scènes
Gotta,
d'action
try and
et d'infiltration.
figure out a new
Donc on a
language.
eu cette idée de créer un héros qui serait plus un traducteur, un diplomate, un scientifique quelque part, et qui soit dans cette démarche de réconciliation. Le personnage lui-même n'est pas un personnage violent, c'est pas un personnage fort, c'est pas un guerrier. Il va s'en sortir, il va trouver les clés autrement que par la violence. C'est important pour nous de montrer ça, puisque quelque part ce qu'on essaie de montrer dans le jeu, ce qu'on essaie en tout cas de dire dans le jeu, c'est que la violence n'est pas forcément le moyen de tout résoudre. Les inspirations artistiques du jeu, elles se trouvent principalement dans la bande dessinée européenne des années 70-80, puis plus tard, on a élargi les inspirations du jeu. On a convoqué le brutalisme, l'architecture mauresque, l'architecture indienne, et c'est ce qui nous a permis de créer ce monde un peu pluriel.
Chant of Scénar est une invitation au voyage, à la tolérance et à l'ouverture sur les autres.
D'ordinaire, les langues étrangères sont vues comme un frein. C'est d'ailleurs pour ça qu'on parle de barrière de la langue. Mais dans Chance of Scénar, ce contexte est voué à être dépassé, puisque les langues y sont à la fois l'obstacle et la solution. J'espère que vous aurez du plaisir à découvrir la tour, à résoudre ses mystères et à nous aider à réunifier ces peuples.
Et évidemment, nous avons hâte d'avoir vos retours.
Hey,
Cool.
right in time for your birthday
Oh, and it's out
again.
on Switch too. Good, good.
Yeah, that would be such a good Switch game.
Seems like the perfect like getting ready for bed game.
I was gonna say, I can definitely picture you playing that in bed.
Ancient Arabian night sky loses its light.
You play as Layla, who is an astronomer who just loves to look at the night sky.
As Layla,
Relatable.
players wield a
Love to
magical
look at the
astrolabe,
sky.
restoring stars back to constellations in order to seek a path home. A key stellar cast member is the Goat Kid constellation. The Goat Kid decides to accompany Layla in her journey.
These days, people do not know much about constellations and the stories behind them, especially Arabic constellations.
Let's go.
This game's for you, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we've had a big research task finding out what those constellations mean, what the backstories are, and finding out how we can turn
Baby
those
got-
ideas into gameplay elements.
The importance of the sky is having this sky-ground connection. Having Layla use the constellation's abilities to solve puzzles and help with Layla in defeating enemies.
The game being 2.5D, you can actually walk into the screen. There's a lot there that allow them to make the game very cinematic.
2.5D is not a term I don't. I
This is
think
a
I've ever
brand new
heard
experience for me,
Yep,
building
it's
a
been around
team
in
from the
games for a
ground
while.
up. We found an amazing level designer in Nabil and a coder in Idris. And very recently we found our technical artist in Zaki, and those three are the powerhouse of the studio.
It's basically just a 2D game where
I
you
think
can
it's really genuinely amazing that we found those guys who were willing to work with us in Doha. I was very unsure about the amount of talent for making video games in the Middle East, and I think we got
just your
super
normal
lucky
work trip
finding
to
the team that we
dunes,
did.
For me, it all starts with a story and pictures that triggers my imagination. It triggered immediately some music in my mind. Beautiful Middle Eastern melodies to take them in, the maqams, to combine them with harmonies, Western influences as well, that it comes together as a blend.
In my mind, designing sound is a bit like playing with clay, like trying to model this clay, this sound, manipulate, edit, cut. For example, the hook shot is mostly made by a tree branch, the footstep of a scorpion walking, which is a mix of knife and stone. The voice of a scorpion is my voice, actually. And then overly processed.
Damn, you got me.
When the scorpion died, that's my voice.
We're trying really hard to make the game feel magical, particularly the parts where the player is trying to figure out the puzzles.
Being in a country like the Philippines where my hometown had about zero pollution, so looking at the stars was one of my hobbies, which is why Nightscape appealed to me a lot.
There's about 65 million people in the MENA region who play games, and there's a very, very sparse amount of content being developed from within. We want to push that boundary, and we want to create fun and meaningful games with the Middle East in mind, utilizing its culture and rich traditions and history to really inspire ideas for games going forward. And ultimately build a bridge towards understanding the Middle East better.
That's a good name. Yeah, I'm down. I'm into it. Definitely showing a lot of games I like the look of in this.
Is the world too much?
Yeah! That's what I'm here for.
Everything I set upon unravels at my feet. Everything I've learned wasted on a girl who doesn't know how to be free.
The games industry is always absolutely convinced that we can only be this and this only until someone comes along and proves them wrong.
Stray Gods is
Fuck
a
yeah, I'm
role
making a
playing
musical
musical where you control the song. You play as Grace, a college dropout who's not quite sure what to do with her life.
A woman living in the modern world who encounters
She wants a burger.
She wants beef. 100% Canadian beef.
Who dies in her arms, passes on her powers,
What?
and Grace discovers that the Greek gods are alive and well and hidden in the modern world.
We think that Stray Gods kind of appeals beyond just fans of video games. It's a really unique story and a unique experience.
There are so many elements that go into this game to make it special that you can attach to any one of them and have an incredible experience.
Stray Gods is what we call a role-playing musical. It's not really a genre that's ever existed before.
You say you didn't kill Calliope. You have 1 week to prove it. What do I do?
And the voice acting roster on this is insane.
This is a game with branching musical numbers where
Oh,
key decisions in the story are
what?
made in musical numbers that change depending on your choices.
Lost girls, lost girls.
The way that we tackle music is one that people have never seen before. Boarding multiple branching paths that should link up to each other. There's a lot of considerations to factor in. It's very complicated, but it feels very worth it in the end.
Perfectly fine on her own.
We got to work with some of the best, the most talented voice actors in the world.
Hey,
the most
Felicia
talented
Day.
people on Broadway. Like, what more could you ask for, really?
Being able to work with some champions like Austin Wintory, David Gator, Troy Baker has been nuts.
At the end of the day, it came down to our composer, Austin. He works some kind of dark magic, and you get it all back, and you're like, don't know how you transformed that take into this, but it's absolutely amazing.
You'll have to see.
We have such incredibly complex, thoughtful characters in this game. Every single character in the game has the potential to be a favorite.
My favorite character is Eros.
I really love Aphrodite. I think she is beautiful.
Oh no, that's too hard of a question.
My favorite character is, I think, Orpheus.
My king, Orpheus. He's my favorite. It used to be Hermes, but Orpheus, emo king, love.
Look at me, who do you think I am? I'm saying Medusa. I am the #1 Medusa fan in the office.
I love Medusa, and I love Persephone, and I adore Freddie, but my favorite?
I reckon my favorite character is Freddie.
I'm really going to go against the grain here. My favorite character is Freddie.
Everybody's going to say Freddie, so I thought I'd say someone else as well.
But my favorite... Oh, yeah, I'll say Freddie. But Medusa and Calliope.
So Freddie's the good one that everyone likes. Cool.
Yeah, that one guy who's like, I'm gonna go against the grain here
in
and say Freddie.
The themes in this game and the stories that it's trying to tell and the people it's trying to involve and the people it's trying to talk to that I haven't seen on a lot of the games that I've worked on in my career.
We've assembled this superstar group of people. It is a Voltron of game development.
Early on, Liam made a conscious effort to make sure that everyone that we hired culturally fit, but also had a conscious effort to make sure that we weren't hiring the same kind of people.
Every single person who came onto this project brought something wholly and uniquely theirs.
It's one thing to be able to hire to have diverse voices. It's also another thing to make sure that those voices are heard. It's just important for us that everyone, one, feels safe enough to share their opinion, and two, diverse enough that many opinions are shared from all sorts of walks of life.
At the end of the day, gaming is about joy, and I really like being reminded that making games can also be about joy.
Damn, what a team.
Very soon, the idols will be no more.
You even more interested now?
Oh, 100%.
That's soon.
Okay, alright. There you go. Telltale. Yee.
The Expanse is an exceptional intellectual property in that it's huge, and that the characters are the forefront of what they are focusing on.
What is so compelling about it is that it works in several different mediums, right? I mean, we began with the books. And then I think what was so special about the television show was that it was almost like just another window of looking in at this same story.
So what's unique about the way that we tell stories is that we give our players agency over the character they're playing, which basically means that their choices shape the overall story, so they're actually living in the story as opposed to just following along with it.
When you're adapting a television property into a video game property, you have to think about what the fan is expecting and when they're coming into. This takes place years before the first season. We're getting to see the world through Kamina Drummer's eyes. She is a belter, somebody who's out in deep space and has grown up there, has never set foot on a planet, so her perspective is really different.
It's hard for me to look at these moons without thinking about the other research colonies exploiting
I've
all
heard
the
it's
resources.
good, but I think it got canceled before it could
I
develop.
hoped to portray her, especially at the beginning of the video game, as a little bit more vulnerable and open, and just see the events that cause her to harden.
Just like Ceres, bossing everyone around, only this time no dolls to keep you on the leash, yeah?
Yeah!
A really awesome character like Drummer deserves to have really interesting situations to be put in that fans have come to expect from the show, and now it's like they're getting to play an episode of The Expanse, but in video game form.
What happened to that
We can
dude's
do things like
I
zero G in
don't
the game.
know.
We have to think about it from what's a good
I
interaction
really like the
medium.
style.
And
It's very
changing
much a
that
departure
from what
what they
you may have
normally
seen in the
say.
show
Yeah, it looks
slowly
much more
to make sure that it's
sophisticated.
something that you can grok immediately and that feels good on the sticks, but that is also representative of what you see in the show. Those characters have really complex issues that they're facing regularly, and in narrative games, we want to give players these gray areas to really think, is this the answer I wanted to choose, or do I want to choose this answer? And that they both have their upsides and their downsides. And so The Expanse is perfect for that.
Drummer, his suit is punctured and losing pressure. You need to release the vault and patch him now
or he could die.
Belay that. That vault has O2, fuel, armaments. We can't afford to lose it.
Damn.
It was a really interesting challenge to come at the same character in a completely different medium.
Deck 9 is a video game studio. We are known for our narrative, our characters, and our motion capture technology.
It's a completely blank white room. You've got some tape on the floor, maybe a few things made out of wire to show where a door frame might be.
Honestly,
yeah, can someone help me do that?
Yeah.
I assume you didn't come here to
Make
talk about
a net thing to carry me around like a little weird diaper.
We have a new target.
What is it this time? El Dorado? The Fountain of Youth? Let me guess. The Falcon Horde
Mocap
of
would be
Venus?
so much fun. Just
The
looking
UNN
weird as hell.
Lobby.
Pretending to
Cap
just
believes there's
be
something valuable
normal.
on board.
Something that we are really excited for people to
I feel like I would
experience
crack
in the
up
Expansive
too
Telltale
much trying to
series
do it myself.
is the emotional performance.
Oh,
that we're getting
definitely.
from our
There'd be like a
actors
full
that comes
like 15
through with our
minutes where I'd
technology
just be like,
and
this
from our
is so
animators
stupid,
that
silly.
really bring out the personality in these characters.
I work for you, but you don't own me.
Believe me, I'm well aware.
Just want to make sure you're not having second thoughts about our deal.
Oh, come on. We're equal partners. We pay the crew, the costs, and the overhead.
The rest is 50-50. You and me.
I mean, that's the joy and the beauty of a job like this, is that I get to play.
We're hoping that you form these bonds with these characters and that they are something that you carry with you after you're done playing the game and you're thinking about it later. That to me is always a testament of good storytelling is, am I thinking about it long after I experienced the game itself?
Oh, no date for that one, it looks like.
Yeah. Well, maybe, yeah. That's weird. It's such an expansive game, you know, they can't. Oh.
Desposito?
I am Julián Cordero, and I'm the lead developer and programmer in Despelote. Despelote is a game about soccer, and it's a slice of life adventure game set in 2001 when Ecuador was
soccer,
really
he lost
close
me.
to qualifying to the World Cup for the first time.
Sorry, dude. No
Everybody
matter
was
how good your
incredibly
game
excited
is.
about this moment, and you see it through the eyes of an 8-year-old
playing a
kid
soccer game.
kicking a ball around with your friends in the park.
¿Vamos a jugar?
Maybe.
When I was
maybe
growing
my
up,
brother will play
I
this.
played a lot of soccer.
Yeah, maybe.
In Ecuador, the culture of soccer is very big, and if you're a boy and you're not playing soccer, it's like hard to make friends. A lot of like my best friends I made were through playing soccer. But then when I moved to the US, I wasn't really watching or playing soccer for a few years. That sort of made me like take a step back from it. I sort of like realized this, and I was like, oh, like this had such a big role in my life. I wanted to make this game to sort of like figure out what it was that was really interesting about soccer growing up. When I started making the game, the first thing I focused on was this like relationship with the ball and like making the ball like this physical object that you're kicking around. More than like creating like a soccer match, I knew that I wanted to just like your relationship with the ball and like how that sort of then relates to your environment. Immediately was thinking, okay, what should it look like? And there was this artist and musician, Sebastián. I really liked his work.
My name is Sebastián Balbuena, and I am in charge of the art in Despelote. That includes 2D animation, 3D modeling, and also the music. This is actually the first video game I have ever worked in.
I knew the game was going to be in 3D because I wanted the game to be like feel very physical and this like the physical connection with the ball.
We wanted to find a graphic style that could communicate emotions, and we found that the 2D hand-drawn animation was the best way to do that.
Hearing that a lot today.
We developed like
2D
the art
animation.
style sort of around like his
But in
previous work
3D.
and his style. Sort of
Oh,
feels
keep
very
going.
nostalgic to us to have these like backgrounds with this like very grainy aesthetic. That was just very important to have that dynamic. The background being so noisy, the characters being so like hand drawn and like so clean.
That's really interesting stuff.
As soon as like I was like, okay, well, what's the setting for this game? Like the only really idea I had was like where I have played soccer in my life, which is in Quito. That's where the game sort of had to be set. It
To
became
me,
really
this is like
important
a
for us,
full-on
like,
art
capture
Yeah,
Quito
oh,
in a way that was
definitely.
like very true to us. So we're using a lot of
Like, I
pictures.
still don't
like,
have a
the
good
buildings
idea of
are
what the
all
gameplay
real
actually
buildings.
Some of the voices are from people that we knew, We wanted to have the same feeling that you get when you listen to people's conversation in the street.
Aww, that's so cute.
So that's why we went with the improvisation for the dialogue.
It's all improvised, really. We like approached a lot of friends and family in Ecuador. The parents are played by my own parents, so there's an interesting dynamic happening there as you run around as a kid. The scene we said is it's 2001. Ecuador is just coming out of this big economic crisis, and there's this idea we can qualify to the World Cup, and that's like really exciting. And it's been great because I think it's bringing in a lot of this like sort of communal understanding of the moment. So my parents aren't really big soccer people, but the excitement of qualifying to the World Cup was so big that even they were really excited about it.
Oiga, ya está jugando el Ecuador, vamos a ver. Todo el mundo está hablando de que este sí hay chance.
Capturing this moment in time was important because I think for my generation, the first time we qualified to the World Cup, it sort of meant like, oh, Ecuador is a tiny little country, but all of a sudden we were like in the world stage and we were like playing against Italy and like we were like in the big newspapers, and that felt like a really big thing. Pelota in Spanish means ball, and despelote is sort of a saying that people have. Is like, esto está hecho un despelote, is like, this is a mess. So it's sort of like a play on words, like ball, like mess. We're growing up with this idea of si se puede, which is what the people chant to the soccer team, which means, yeah, we can do it. Si se puede and si se pudo, like we can do it and we already did it. Like that's not something my parents were able to like grow up with. People like grasp onto it so much, and I think it like really gave a lot of people so much hope. And I think for me, like that being like one of my earliest memories, it sort of made me grow up thinking like, oh yeah, like yes, we can. I hope that people really enjoy just running around in Quito. I think we've built it in a way that is based on a lot of our memories, instead of like trying to recreate it directly one.
Okay, that would be fun, is stealing everybody else's soccer ball.
I hope that feels very like transportive for people, and they can experience what this moment in time in Ecuador was, and how I felt through that time.
Huh. It looks really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's it, eh?
I guess so.
Cool. There was some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was particularly interested in that Tower of Babel game. That looks really cool.
That definitely looks really cool.
And of course, I'm sure Stray Gods, once that's out, we'll probably be playing it on stream immediately. I have to imagine.
I don't know if we'll play it on stream, because I might just want to play it all the way through.
Yeah, sure. Well, I figure whether it's on stream or off, you'll probably play it all the way through.
Well, I'm also worried about copyright, right?
I think
it's music.
I think it's fine if it belongs to a game. If it's original music made for the game, I think that's fine. It's only if a game has like actual copyrighted music from elsewhere, I think that you run into problems.
Sure, that makes sense. But yeah, thanks for joining us for our quick. Shut up! Shut up! Hold on. Can I just do
free publicity for that lady?
Yeah, not anymore. And it's for skip the dishes too. Come on. So, yeah, thanks for joining us for this quick little game spotlight. Can you shut up? Sorry. I'm going to have to remember to turn all of that back on tomorrow. So, catch me back here tomorrow at noon for the Wholesome Games Direct. I'm so excited. It'll probably be just me because you have to work, right?
I do have to work.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine because I will very much enjoy all the cute and wholesome games that are coming. But yeah, thanks for joining us for another stream, and we'll see y'all. Oh yeah, maybe later tonight for some Zelda. We'll see. Bye.
Bye.